the City Council meeting of January 11th to order. If everybody would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and just before roll call, just a quick note. Councilmember Foster Reif is stuck in Akron, Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, and cannot make it tonight. Our City Attorney Steve McEwen could not get up here from down south, and neither could the representative from Cosmont. So we're a small group tonight, but it is what it is. Linda, roll call.
Okay, Councilmember Andrusik.
Here.
Councilmember Mercado.
Here.
Councilmember Reif. Vice Mayor King.
Here.
And Mayor Sierra.
Here. Thank you. Alrighty. Number 2, the list of claims to be approved and ratified for payment today for fiscal year 20.
Ma'am, well, we have public comment.
I jumped way down to the bottom. Thank you very much. That's consent calendar.
It's a 2-year stay.
Boy, oh boy. Okay. Do we have any reordering of the agenda tonight?
No, ma'am.
Public comments. This is your opportunity to speak to the council about anything you feel like talking to the council about, whether it's on the agenda or not. You've got 3 minutes. I have one slip for an agenda item later on, but if anybody would like to step up and speak their say, come on up. Judith Dale.
Judith Dale, 381 Thumbelina. I would just like to say thank you very much to Officer and Chief O'Grady, and we're going to miss you, and best wishes in your new position, and always keep Buellton in your heart.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. If there's nothing else, I close public comments. Now we move to the consent calendar. We've got a few items up for consent tonight. We have the minutes of December 14, 2017 regular City Council meeting. List of claims to be approved and ratified for payment to date for fiscal year 2017-18. The acceptance of City of Buellton Transportation Development Act, the TDA, fund financial statements for years ended June 30, 2017 and 16 with independent auditor's report. We have the quarterly report for July 1st, 2017 through September 30, 2017 from the Visit San Ynez Valley, or Visit SYV. The revenue and expenditure reports through November 30, 2017. The monthly treasurer's report, November 30, 2017. The monthly activity report, enterprise funds through November 30th, 2017. And the monthly private project balance report through November 30th, 2017.
Madam Mayor, I move for approval of items 1 through 8. Second.
All righty. Linda?
Okay, Councilmember Andrusik.
Aye.
Vice Mayor King.
Aye.
Councilmember Mercado.
Aye on all but number 1, because I abstained due because I was absent.
Okay, and Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Thank you very much. Moving on to public hearings.
No, ma'am.
Council member comments / items. Councilmember Andrusik, any?
Yes, ma'am. We're getting ready to get ready for the tourist season, and the condition of a lot of our signs are terribly faded. I don't know if that's somebody's program and we just happen to be between. We've got stop signs that are lightly colored, and I'm not sure if it could be private property stop signs. I'm thinking at Crossroads, not Crossroads, but at the town center, and it had a couple of stop signs that were very faded, bent up. I think you took care of the ones in the next lot over. The Burger King, the big shopping center.
The city does have a sign replacement program. As we complete each of the roadwork project, we're updating and improving all the street regulatory and warning signage and street signage in that neighborhood. The signs that it sounds like that you're talking about are within the shopping centers, so those are all private signs that the center is responsible for.
And we can send a letter to the centers and asking for them to update.
Thank you. That, well, it's that and the the signs, the public information signs. I went over to Haneda over the holiday time, and they have important signs about the size of this map, but you can't read half of it. And I don't know if we should just tell them that they're faded.
And that's a school district sign?
Yeah, on the school district, on the building where you could see it from the street. So
staff will take an inventory of the private signs. It's like
I think those are
Ms. Hess indicated. Our public signs we're in the process of doing that, but we'll take a look at the private ones and just send a nice letter to them asking for some
thank you
updates.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Mercado?
Yes, I'd just like to thank our city manager for our updates that we do get on emails on a regular basis for the Thomas Fire, the flood, and some other issues that we've had. I appreciate that because I get a lot of information that way, and so I appreciate the fact that you do keep us updated on those.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
I would just like to publicly also thank Sean O'Grady, our Lieutenant Commander here, for the service that you've done. And where are you going, Sean? HR.
Well, Mayor Sierra's going to do a little presentation for him, and then we can get all the details.
I'm doing a presentation?
We're thanking him, and yeah, that's his presentation in the broad sense.
Okay.
I just have one more.
Yes, certainly. Oh no.
What did? Okay, the crosswalk at Leilata, in front of going out of Ranch Club, the beautiful sign. I don't know. I would encourage anybody to try to get across the street without having to break into a run. It's about 7 lanes of traffic. I got across okay, and I was coming back, and the people, of course, it's not a speeding thing, but they were certainly doing more than 45, and I found myself running to get across the street. The sign lights, it's really helpful at night. It's virtually unseen during the day. You can't. I think if you're right on it, they flash. But I was under the impression there would be some sort of a light to let people, like a crosswalk, stop for the traffic. We have no lighting there. The flashing, they're little. What's the high density LED lights? About 8 of them around the yellow sign that says crossing, and that's all that I could see. The buttons work fine, but give it a try and see what you think.
We'll have to have our motorcycle officer sit over there.
Right.
Maybe do a
As far as you're talking about the timing, that the flashing is too.
No.
Well, no, there's no way that it's flashing, and I dare say nobody can see it. People wouldn't be able to see it, but I'm thinking down in Goleta when they had them on Hollister, when Dave and I first saw those years ago, and I thought there was a they had the lights in the crosswalk, so people knew to stop for the pedestrians. I don't think anyone is aware that they're just coming both directions. So I don't know if we can tune that up, or I would hate to see an elder person think they're safe because they push the crosswalk button. There's nothing to stop the traffic.
It's not a traffic signal, so it wouldn't do that. But per vehicle code, if there's a pedestrian in a crosswalk, they're supposed to stop. But again, you would have to talk with enforcement.
It's a leap of faith because the cars are moving. So. And it's not a speeding thing. It's just I don't know that that's enough time. Maybe it needs. Well, there's no time limit. That's the other thing. I mean, I'm thinking, okay, what am I missing here? And it's.
Maybe it needs to be on longer.
Yeah, I'll look at it. Previously we had it on the longest settings for when it would flash, and then it was pulled out during the Caltrans construction. So I'll double check with the traffic flow.
I thought it was brighter, so maybe they haven't hooked it up as bright as it can be, because we used to be able to see it during the day. But that was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it wasn't very.
Didn't deter anybody, huh?
I don't think it got anybody's attention, but he got mine.
Good to
Hopefully
get, good to get your heartbeat up a little bit.
Yes.
I just have a couple of them. First of all, January 21st, 5 o'clock at the Solvang Vets Hall. There's a meeting for the Special Olympics, which is coming to Santa Ynez Valley. The first Special Olympics game, we're going to add to them slowly, but the first ones will be basketball to be held at our own rec center. And they're looking for volunteers, whether you are able to help drive our athletes or to help with coaching. They're looking for any kind of help they can get, and the meeting, first official meeting, is the 21st, which I believe is a Sunday at 5 o'clock at the Solvang Vets Hall. And it's something our valley needs to get involved in. So if you can, give your time. The second one was that I had a resident come to me. He has a friend who lives on Freer who is legally blind, has a very hard time getting around. He was hoping that we could get the light at Freer to have sound added to it so that this poor man didn't have to wave his white cane up in the air and pray to God he didn't get hit crossing the road. And I wanted to thank our Public Works Director, Rose. You're working with ADA Department at Caltrans to get that moving along.
We submitted both to the ADA and to the Caltrans maintenance. ADA is forwarding the request to maintenance as well, so it's coming from both sides. So they will look into it and get back to us.
I truly appreciate it. Thank you very much. And now, I guess for our presentation,
Yeah, we have a plaque. However, the plaque is in Santa Barbara, and the people who do the plaque live in Ojai. So obviously, we don't have a plaque for you tonight, but we just want to honor you, and personally, I want to thank you for the 4 years of service that you've provided to the city. I really appreciated your responsiveness to the city needs, and
I appreciate you putting up with me and some of my bizarre requests, and the fact that we've been lucky to have you for 4 years. The standard is 2 years. And
maybe sometimes.
Maybe sometimes. We were very lucky. You've provided a really good service to our community, and I just wanted to thank you. The floor is yours, Chief.
Okay. Mayor Sierra and City Council members, I just want to say thank you for having me here. It's a real honor to be, part of the valley here in Buellton, and even though every small town has requests, and some things to people, they may not seem like big things to some people, but some people believe that they're the biggest things. So you kind of have to treat everybody, the same. So I was never offended or anything by any, or my guys. Deputies weren't offended by any of the requests by anybody.
Well, you went a little bit farther than some of them, showing me video and helping me with, I believe, legitimate requests from the community too. But I've never asked a chief of our police to do that before, and you were very gracious, and I do appreciate it.
Like I said, it was my honor. I had a great time here. I think we had a good working relationship, and I wish I could stay, but unfortunately the administration has other plans, and so I'm off to Human Resources. So. But as I told the city of Solvang, and also some of the other people we work with in the Chumash community, you need anything, give me a call. I'm still here. I'm not like in Siberia or anything, and you have my phone number and email address and everything. So if there's something I can help you with, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Careful what you say.
It was an honors. No more dog tickets. Okay?
No more dog tickets. I promise. I promise.
HR might be more stressful than being the commander.
Yeah, we're looking at hiring. Like, we need a lot of people. We're very down on our ranks, so we're looking to hire as many as we can over the next year. That's for sure. So, no pressure there.
You'll be busy. You'll be busy.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, we did get a late public comment request from Michael Baker of the Boys and Girls Club, if you'd like to.
Absolutely. Please, Mr. Baker, step on up. Welcome back.
Mr. Baker's my dad. It's okay. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm sorry. Got here as quickly as I could. I did not speed, though. I did not speed. I just want to give you an update on the Boys and Girls Club at Honolulu Middle School. We're doing very well. We finished 2017. We have roughly 160 members. Our goal is to get 20 kids enrolled in the program. We have 160. We're averaging about 55 kids a day. And it's growing. So one thing I'd like to share with you that's happening as well, I'd love to get any one of you to come on a tour and see what's happening there on any Monday through Friday from 4 to 5:30 is the best time to see it at Honolulu Middle School if you want to come out and see that program. Love to take you on a guided tour. Took Kathy Breland there a couple months ago. She was, to say the least, I think she was very much impressed with what's happening. And the fee that we charge for the kids to go there for the day is $6 a day for the after school program to get their homework done. And I think the parents have been extremely happy with the results. And we're looking to hire more. The more people we have working there, the more kids we can serve. We are looking to hire 2 people right now. So if you know somebody that's good with kids, we'll do all of our background screening and everything, and then bring them on board. We are looking for two part-time positions. So it's great job for a college student as well. That's how I got started. So be happy to answer. I know you can't ask questions. It's public comment. So
During public comment,
yeah. I just wanted to again thank you for getting me in. I appreciate it, and we look forward to continuing to grow the program.
I have a friend whose son attends, and he has a blast. He's very happy he was at the other program. He's very happy with the Boys and Girls Club, and so is she. So
good.
Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All righty. Written communications?
No, ma'am.
All righty. Committee reports? It's been pretty quiet. Anybody have any? Not a committee report. Okay. Then we move on to our business items. Discussion and direction regarding the city-owned property at 480 Central Avenue. Mr. Bierczynski.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Council directed staff to do planning and economic aspects of a variety of uses at 480 Central, including a garden, a mixed-use project, multifamily residential, a civic community center, and a public parking lot. The property is zoned multifamily residential, 16 units per acre, and is about 0.26 acres in size. Residential uses are located to the west, north, and south, and to the east are a public alley and a vacant commercial lot. The City Council wanted input from the Planning Commission on land uses for the property, and we had a meeting on December 7th to go over that. None of the commissioners supported a mixed-use project or a public parking lot. They felt the property was too far from the Avenue of Flags to support commercial uses or a parking lot. Chair Dunstan and Commissioners Hamill and Padilla supported a multifamily project. They felt that would be a more appropriate use given the property's location off the Avenue of Flags and to the adjacent residential uses. Commissioner Sarkia stated that the city should hold off any development at this time and just maintain it free of weeds with a compacted base and use it for special event parking in the interim. And Commissioner Heedy stated the city should not be developing the property and they should sell the property and get it off the books. Cosmont Companies, the city's economic consultant, prepared a cost-benefit analysis of the above uses, which is attachment 3. Joe Diegas from Cosmont is on the line. He was going to be up here as well along with the city attorney, but Mother Nature had other designs on that. They basically looked at different uses, fees we would get, capital expenditures, etc., and the social aspects of the different properties. And in their analysis, the public parking lot does allow for the highest level of potential revenue generation because we could charge fees or we could use it as part of the Development Opportunity Reserve Program. However, the social impacts of a multifamily project would be trying to get residents out of the hotels along the Avenue of Flags and helping those areas develop. So there's different cost benefits that Cosmont and staff has looked at. So the City Council staff is seeking City Council direction on the future uses of the property. For whichever use is selected, further refinement of the development costs would be prepared for budgetary purposes before moving forward. If we did a multifamily project, staff would work with Cosmont companies to prepare a request for proposals for a residential development partner, preferably one with affordable housing experience that will be able to manage the apartments. With that, staff and Joe Diegas are available to answer any questions of the council.
Terrific. Let's see, we're going to go with questions first, and then I'll open it up to the public, and then we'll come back and give some discussion and direction. Does anybody have any questions for either Mr. Beardzinski or Mr. Diegas? No? Okay, I did have a couple. I noticed the multifamily residential, you have 4 possible units. If it were a 2-story, could you get 8 units in there, or is 4 about the max?
Well, 4 is the density maximum. However, through a density bonus that the city has, I'm thinking we could get up to maybe 5 on there. But then we're starting to constrain the site as far as parking and landscaping requirements. So 4 based on the density requirements, and maybe 5 if we used a density bonus.
4 to 5 then, okay. And you had in here that you could get up to, if we went to parking, that you could get up to $50 a space per month?
Yes, that's what Cosmont kind of estimated based on their...
Is that what solving charges, or do we know? I mean, it seems high to me. Is that a normal cost?
I think the $50, and Joe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think $50 was at the construction cost or the rental cost? Because I think solving's around $20 if I recall, but I'm not sure.
Joe, do you, the $50, the number you came up with for the cost, the space cost per month to rent, how did you get to that $50?
You got it. We backed out of what we believe would be a sufficient return for a developer for constructing a parking improvement. So we basically backed out of construction costs at about an 8.5% return. This is what we think would be a fair return for that developer for operating that space. So we sort of a bottom-up approach as opposed to a top-down, which is also a good approach, like looking at what solving charges. So we're going to look at what solving charges, but I think that's probably a good exercise as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions?
I do have one, Madam Mayor, for Mark. Are you talking about on the multifamily, the 4 units, like a duplex?
It could be probably a fourplex, probably all in one building. I don't think the site's large enough to get a couple of duplexes, so you probably have 2 downstairs and 2 upstairs.
And how would that work? I mean, if we're talking about bringing over, you know, one of the reasons that I had requested it was that I thought it would be, it would help the avenue if we got people over from the hotels into new housing. We have the lot. How does it work from there? Does the city pay for everything, or how do we get these families out of the hotels so that the hotels can either fix themselves up or sell their properties?
I did talk to John Polanski from the County Housing Authority, the nonprofit who manages our 2 affordable projects here in town, and he does a lot of work, and their group does a lot of work. And he indicated if we partnered with him or any other type of nonprofit, they would be the ones that would get the funding. The city would not be providing any funding for construction of the apartments. They have grants and different types of funding sources. There could be a gap that occurs that the city may have to kick in some funds, but we have, I believe, over $300,000 in our housing fund that is only committed to housing. So if we use portion of that, it's not coming out of the general fund for other types of projects. It has to be used for housing, so that's available. And once they took over and built this particular project, they would be responsible for operation and maintenance, not the city. So the only costs associated to the city if we partner with an affordable housing developer would be maybe some funding out of our housing funds to offset any funding gaps that they may have. And then if the city does contribute some money, then there are ways we can market the project to the people on the avenue and people in the city of Buellton with preference points. So. And the only other thing is a lot of these groups like to own the property, but they would also be open to a 99-year lease, so the city could retain it and then give them a 99-year lease for operation of the apartments. Or we could sell it for a nominal fee, and then they would take it, and then they would manage the apartments. So depends, and that's what we do with the RFP, working with Cosmont if we went in that direction.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Nope.
Madam Mayor, I do have
Sure.
one. Well, even if we move the people out of the motels, there's nothing to prevent people from backfilling.
Yes, if we started that program, we would start working with the hotels that once they're vacated, they could not put in a permanent resident again. So we'd amortize it over time, so then it would become more of a hotel and not that. So if we did take people, the requirement would be not to backfill it with anybody new. It would just have to be hotel units. So that will be part of the program we've worked with.
I have a question, ma'am. First off, ever since we've bought it, it's been fairly clean, but we do have an issue of the dirt from the curb into the pavement. And I really haven't said anything, but I'm surprised nobody's gone by and shoveled up the dirt back onto the lot. It's 20 inches of dirt that's been there since escrow closed. The next thing then is, how do we, is this considered when our enterprise funds, when we're in business, we have expenses and revenue, and we're obligated to commit to it. How can we track it as a council, or the citizens track what have we spent and what kind of revenue? Because rents would be paid to, would they be paid to us if we decided to rent them, or
it most likely it would be paid to the housing
turning it
authority,
into
because
that
they
part?
would be the managers.
Okay.
We wouldn't do any of the work on managing the properties, so that would be all of their requirements. They would just be doing the operation and the maintenance and getting the income, because we would not have that much of a major investment for building those units.
But now once it's built and all of the expenses have been made, is there a process for the city to divest themselves of it if we find it's more of
like I said, they would prefer to have the property, so once it's all done, the city could transfer the property for a nominal fee to the group that we partnered with, and then they would own the property and manage it, and the city would be out of that.
And then that nominal fee, is that where we recover the investment we've made, or is it?
Probably not.
I'd like to know.
This is more of a social thing. If you're providing these units, the
community.
city's providing the social benefits, so you probably may not get the full return on the investment.
Okay. And then I guess at some point, maybe when this filters out, can we get a year-to-date, or how much the city has spent dollars from the treasury on where we are right now? Because we bought it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, so that's it. We have not had any expenditures on it at this point, other than it's part of the landscape contract to make sure it's kept weed-free.
Okay.
Does the city pay property tax?
No. So there's actually no investment or any expenditures on the property, but whatever we do would be tracked, as far as, especially if we did housing and we spent housing funds, that's tracked, because that's a separate special fund that we have for housing, so any expenditures out of there would be fully tracked.
And I guess this is covered in our JPIA, our insurance carrier. We have a process we need to maintain for liability if we're going to be renting.
It's been added to our property to right now as a vacant piece of property.
So they haven't sent you any things to look for, or operating issues that they've come across over the years?
No.
Okay.
And if we build something, then it just adds to our property inventory like any other city property if we build any structures.
Okay.
You had another question?
So in that scenario, basically we'd be donating that property,
Basically, yes.
whatever we pay for it.
Correct.
So if questions are done, I'm going to open this up for public comment, and I have one speaker slip. If anybody else wants to get up and speak, Peggy Buellton, come on down.
Good evening, Mayor Sierra and council members. Peggy Buellton, Buellton resident. You just gave final approval to a specific plan for the Avenue of Flags, a downtown specific plan, and I'm just wondering if you support it. In the urban design, the 2002 urban design plan, it shows 2 locations for possible parking lots for the downtown. One of them is the old zoo property, which is now apartments, and this lot. And now this lot may be apartments. So, you know, where is going to be the lot where we're going to put cars that are going to be needed? Parking is going to be needed for businesses that are going to be supposedly happening on the avenue. So this really, do you support the specific plan that you just passed and approved? And you're going to really put apartments on this lot? Thank you.
Okay. Rich, did you want to get up and speak?
Yeah, I just have a question as far as why did we buy it?
Well, actually, I was one of the proponents of this. There were 2 lots for sale, the empty lot that's still next to Houston's and this lot. And I thought the city, I believe in a well-diversified account, having finances and things. The city does not own a lot of property, and I thought it would be a sign, a show of good faith. Peggy and I disagree that we were interested, that we really do care about what happens on the avenue. We wanted to have property associated with it so that we could show other potential buyers that it is moving along, that things are happening on the Avenue of Flags.
Because you wouldn't buy a piece of property unless you had an intent for it.
I had a couple of ideas. One of them got shot down pretty quickly. I love the idea of a community garden, and a lot of people in that area don't have a place for a garden, and I thought that that might be a good location. Right. I was a minority, so there are other ideas. I think if we could get people out of some of the living conditions in the apartments, the motels across the street, they're not supposed to be long-term. If we could get that out and change it, then these hotel owners would either have to step up and clean up their properties, which would make the avenue a nicer place to walk around, or perhaps they'd be, if they didn't want to fix it up, then they could sell it to other businesses to come into the avenue and turn it into a vibrant place. That was my reasoning. That was my logic. I think it's important that the city tried to be a part of what's going on. And those were 2 lots that were, one is right on the avenue and the other one is right behind it.
Yeah. The one right on the avenue would have been
better. Much better. I was hoping to get, we were all hoping to get both of them.
Right.
And
because then you would have been able to show this redevelopment that you want to do.
Exactly.
What we want.
Exactly. We had both properties assessed. We made what we thought were offers, reasonable offers on both of them based on the assessment. And we negotiated with the one that we did end up with, and they turned us down flat for the other one. So,
okay.
So now we're trying to figure out what we're going to do, how we can turn this around. I've had, the Planning Commission was not in favor of a parking lot. But it's really a block away from the avenue, a half a block, and it's not that far. Yeah. So I've tried to talk to a lot of people. I had one person a couple people who suggested food trucks, put a parking lot in, and for now turn it into a food truck Friday, and try to get people down towards the avenue.
But you're basically talking about you may take a loss on it, right? If you give it to somebody.
Yes and no. That we had a study done on the housing these apartments, the hotels are providing, and it's pretty deplorable. And these people, they work in Buellton, the residents, they work in Buellton, their income is very low, and I think it would be a big benefit to Buellton if we could give these people a home, someplace they could be proud of. Their kids go to school at Honda. Some of them are seniors, and you know, we might take a loss on the property, but I think overall, then the avenue gets itself cleaned up. And
you do this anywhere else in the city right now?
I'm trying to figure out where else we do have low-income housing up at Burgundy Hills, not Burgundy Hills.
No, Vintage Walk, and Valley Station.
And right over
And
here
you
at Valley
own that
Station.
property?
No.
No. No. The Housing Authority takes care of those.
Okay.
Judith,
You know I can't just stay seated, right?
I'm looking for, we're all looking for input here.
How much did we pay for this?
I believe it was $380.
Was it $380?
I think somewhere in that range. I can't recall offhand, but it's somewhere in that range.
And how big is it?
0.26 acres.
0.26?
Yes.
So it's a quarter of an acre about.
Yes.
Okay. First off, how many people are living in the motel rooms in Buellton on the avenue?
About 88 that they surveyed, yes.
So we're talking about helping 4 out of 80?
4 families.
4 families out of 80 families, or 80
so
units?
Maybe 8 if they're...
Not 80 units, 80 people.
80 people.
Oh, 80 people.
So you're looking at...
I was going to say 80 units. We're not even scratching them.
8 to 12 people.
I agree with you that, you know, I would love to see people not living in the motels, but I also, just as a member of the public, don't want to see $380,000 just donated. That seems a bit extreme to me. I'm thinking, you know, is there a way that we can either make it more dense? So you're thinking this would be families rather than, because you could get a lot of 1-bedroom studios.
Really can't, because we have density. The city has to follow our own density requirements, so we can't put as many units on as we want. So
okay.
Density is 4, possibly 5. Then we have to have parking, etc. So basically, I don't think we get more than 5 just on the constraints on the property and the code requirements.
Yeah.
But you could have a couple of 2 bedrooms where children could actually have their own room instead of the parents.
What would happen if the city ran it? I mean, it's just, we don't want to do that. We don't want to become a landlord.
We do not have the expertise and do not want to become a landlord. That's where the housing authority or other groups like that who have the experience in managing these types of projects are the ones who do it and have the expertise that we do not.
Well, and 2, one of the big issues of how we develop the avenue is parking. You know, could we put like a 3-deck parking structure on it, or a 2-deck parking structure?
Not with the residential.
Not with the residential. Okay. What about a pocket park? Because we've talked about those people have nothing. As far as, and you know, a lot of folks are not for putting a park on the medians, and yet there's Richard Crutchfield and quite a few people are saying, whoa, you know, there's nothing for families on the avenue. Why not put it there?
I think that was rejected by the council when we first started looking at the various projects, because we do have the avenue that is going to have park areas, etc., that were added specifically in the specific plan based on comments.
So, you know, in other words, it seems to me that we should use the land on the avenue for possibly revenue generation and make the park on Central, where there isn't quite the opportunity for revenue generation. Anyway, it just seems to me as a member sitting out here in the public to say $350,000 to $380,000 we spend, and we're going to only be able to serve at the most 4 families. and we're going to give it away. So that's my input. And maybe maybe we do nothing with it right now and see how the avenue starts to develop. But and I'm not against helping these families at all. You know, it's just wow. And how do you choose which families get to move?
That's why the professional organization who does the marketing.
So we don't have to. Because I was going to say, you know. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Yeah, this is hard. I mean, I really want to do something for these families, and you know, there's apartments right across the street from this property, so I think apartments would certainly work there. It is disappointing that we're looking at 4 or 5. That's hard, but I don't know where else. It's more than we've got a bigger problem than just 4 or 5 families. I know we've got to start someplace. So,
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
Chanel, sorry. Where do we keep track of this? Because the Housing Authority is going to collect the rents and repair their screens and other damage. I'm sure we're going to get billed for that.
No, we will not get billed for it. We don't get billed for the ones that they managed on these other projects that were privately done. They would not bill us for this one because they built it and they're managing it and they're operating it and they're maintaining it. We would not be billed.
When I've read about some of those in the past, I mean, they have the power to divest themselves of them at their decision rather than do they have to check with us before they would sell it, or we're going to them at some point?
That's part of what we put together in agreements. We would have agreements with them, and then we'd get reports every year from them.
I guess I'd like to know, because Cosmod has done work on this. I don't know what we've spent for. Where's the meter at right now for what do we have invested? Don't have to tell us right now, but does it have an account number where we can look in the budget?
No, but we have a contract with Cosmont to a certain amount, and you directed me to use them for this particular project. So I can tell you how much they've spent because we get their invoices each month, and we have a certain level for the year that they can't exceed, and that won't be exceeded. So,
is there? I'd like to know what it is if someone asks me, because I've had that question that Richard asked. How much have we spent? Or Judith asked, how much have we spent? And I don't know that I've ever seen it published anywhere. But I don't think we usually do.
Well, it's like a standing contract we have with Cosmont. So it's not broken down. If you direct me to use them under our current budgetary limits, I use them, and I can absolutely give you the information.
Okay, because I don't know where the money came from. We adjusted our, and it's different, but citizens say, why do we have to give you more money for our water when you're buying things that maybe you don't need to be buying? I guess they're questioning our logic or our capacity to operate within our means.
Well, again, under contract services for planning, I have a certain amount for Cosmont. For whatever economic development activities I'm directed to proceed with, which I was on this one, and they're under budget. But I'll give you the numbers. That's easy to do.
Like a spreadsheet, because that would be helpful for me.
Not a spread. I can just give you the total number that they did working on this particular project because they provided the invoices on that.
Then, as we're going into this, because it sounds like we don't know how much we're going to spend or how much we're going to get, if anything, back, what is the Housing Authority exposure? What do they experience? Did they tell us, realtors will usually say you can expect 11% operating expense every...
And again, that wouldn't be at the city's expense; it would be theirs. But again,
they're not going to do it.
We're not at the level you're at yet because I don't know where the council wants me to go. If we go parking lot I do the numbers for parking lot. If it's residential, then we do that and do an RFP, and we move forward on those things. So this is more, you need to tell me, do you want to keep it?
This is discussion and direction. I would say, you know, Cosmont gave us a list of 6 different ideas. And I think we could probably, with those 6 ideas, multifamily residential, multi-use residential / office, residential / civic use, community garden, public parking, I think we could probably cut it down to the family residential and the parking. Do we all agree on that?
I mean, I think maybe a dialogue now before we say, okay, well that, you told us you want to do something else. It looks like Cosmont's recommendation is we could expect an $18,000 income for. Okay. Now we're going to we'd still spend money. We got to pave it and do all of that.
That's at $50 a spot.
Okay. I'm just saying, if we knew that we were going to have some revenue rather than giving it to someone that we don't know what's ever going to happen with it, that I guess their feeling, their comment to us would be, well, we're taking over your problem. We'll maintain it, we'll clean it with it, and you just give it to us. Well, that doesn't seem like a good idea to me. But I just that if we don't know what we're doing, the parking probably is the best idea just to generate some money. We may have somebody that wants to get in the parking business, the management of doing more parking within the city for parking, and we wouldn't have to be involved with it. I'd like to, since we don't have an operating plan, Mark's asked us to tell him what we want, and I'm not hearing any upside to 5 of the 6 items. It looks like parking is about the only one, but I think what we're missing there is how much it costs. I asked some people, what does it cost to pave a lot that size and create, get the ground ready, and curb cuts and things that have to be put in, and so that
was there a cost? Did you get a dollar amount for something like that? It
was a dollar amount per. Well, again, when you're talking 30 spaces, it's going to be a lot more because there's a minimal cost to get the equipment to the property. I mean, it's like Public Works could not go and patch one pothole. This is one little corner, so I think it's. I didn't bring that information with me, but I think if someone would tell us what their history has been, maybe a parking company would say that you can expect to spend so many dollars getting a lot ready.
Realize they don't have prevailing wage, so ours would be a little higher.
Right, of course. But
so perhaps we shouldn't pick one or the other. We should maybe get cost estimates for a parking lot, what it would cost.
The way I've read the report, that looks like the only thing that has any potential of being a benefit to the tourism, the city's ability to provide parking for future development on the avenue, and then we would have the flexibility to get rid of it if we found it wasn't being used or we had people just parking. I've had people tell me, well, you're going to be chasing, you're going to be towing a lot of vehicles off of once you pave it.
I was told this, all the people that are parking on the street are going to say, hey, there's a parking lot right here. We can park right here.
Right. So, and again, then during the day, maybe we have a certain time limit, but during the evening hours,
right?
Then it's a public park. But those are the details that we work out moving forward and bring that back to council for discussion.
I don't know if we have, if anyone, does Cosmont have an idea of anyone else that's done this, where they've just gone in and bought a piece of property and turned it into parking?
I don't know, Joe. Do you have any experience with that? Did you hear the question?
Yeah, I'm sure we could come up with some case studies on the question of cost. That's what I talked earlier about sort of a bottom-up approach for pricing parking in order to make it worth an investment. I said something about an 8.5% return on costs, and the cost I'm talking about would be costs for improvement. So we assumed something in $200,000 to $225,000 of total initial capital expenditures. That's just based off of our experience with some contractors. So that was the basis, and if we were to take sort of a private sector perspective or any type of real estate perspective on whether or not it makes sense to spend money to do something like that, it's that $50 a space per month number that really justifies that capital expenditure in our eyes, using sort of an investment threshold of an 8.5% return. So $20 a square foot initial capital expenditure for parking between $200,000 to $225,000, and it was helpful for council for us to dig up some case studies. Perhaps we can certainly do that.
And also the if somebody used the development opportunity reserve, then a developer would use that for some offsets and build the parking, and then the city wouldn't have the initial investment.
We could have used that over at the Village Square, it's not Town Center. I always get it mixed up, the name of the Starbucks scenario.
A question. I'm trying to come up with some kind of logic to my happy homes. If we donated the land to the county, could we write that off as a gift?
I would have to look into that. I'm not sure.
They said they like owning their own property.
Correct.
If the city gifted the property back to the county.
Steve, do you know that answer offhand?
If we so I had you on speaker, I wanted to get the phone to my ear. If we gifted the property,
right?
I'm sorry. Can I get the end of that question?
Say we go to RFP. The County of Santa Barbara Housing Authority gives us the nicest looking outcome for housing, low-income housing, and the city decides that the county likes to own their own property, and we gift the lot to the County of Santa Barbara. Can that property that's gifted be written off tax-wise? The value of the property.
I'd have to look at the tax implications of that. I mean, in terms of a public gift of funds, I mean, you'd be giving away the property, but as long as you can articulate a public purpose, then you wouldn't be running afoul of that provision. But in terms of what the tax implications would be, I'd need to take a look at that and get back to you on that.
Is public hearing closed? Can we speak now?
Oh, I'm so sorry. No other public comments? I'm closing. Steve, you're supposed to take care of me. Thank you, Art. Closing public comments. Bringing it back to council. Thank you.
I'll start. And looking at all of it, I understand the social implications, but I also look at the potential revenue. I would think parking would be our best bet. It's not that far. I understand what the Planning Commission was coming from, but you go to someplace, San Francisco, Santa Monica, Staples Center, you can walk from here to San Ynez and find parking, and that's where you park. Also, you can get there. $30 a month for parking is not out of the way, but then those same parking lots then become available for the sporting events. So if we had something to where, whether Southern Avenue, the flags, and those people who wanted to rent it out monthly, okay, at 4 o'clock we have an event coming, you need to make sure you move, and that's a second source of income. And whether we manage it or we have someone who does manage it for us, it seems 50 might not be a little pricey right now. So if we charge 45 or 30, it takes us a little bit longer to recoup our investment. But I think long term, the viability of it, I would lean toward parking. I don't think it's that far out of the way. Like I said, I understand all the social implications that we have here, and it would be great, but we're also looking at a big cost of what people want to do, and at the time comes where we do have a developer who wants to do that project with us, then we have something to offer them. And the only way you have to offer is because you own the property. You say, this is where we want to put our parking structure. If you want to develop something on the Avenue flag, this is what we have to do. That's my thought.
Madam Mayor, I have a question for Mark, a planning question, because bonus density or the developer incentives. If someone along the commercial zone, let's say within a quarter mile of this lot, wanted to bring a project that they didn't have sufficient parking for, is that something we could own it and they would pay us that fee, or would we be selling it to them?
No, we wouldn't be selling it, but we could use the development opportunity reserve to get other incentives out of the developer in exchange for, they can build a parking lot and then maybe they can get on their site some more building area or height or something, and they would build a lot and it would still be our public lot, but then we'd have an agreement as far as
for developing it.
Yeah, they would develop it, but we get income out of it. So there would be that would be part of why we have the development opportunity reserve.
And that technique or that process then keeps us out of having to go sweep it, maintain it, repair it. They buy the responsibility. It's like leasing the land.
And that's however we set up the agreement as part of that. So yes, we could do that.
If Cosmo could find out how do people do that, because I know there were some developers that came to Solvang in the 80s, and they had prime commercial property, but they didn't want to pay that price for the parking, and they were allowed to within so many 100 feet buy space to park their customers on.
And the reserve program's new, so things will work out through Cosmont and the developer and the city council as part of that.
I think we need more that kind of information to kind of. I haven't heard anything encouraging, so somebody needs to come in and kind of tell us how this benefits us and the citizens.
Vice Mayor, your comments?
Well, I'm looking at this, and it's a 0.26 acres. So, as it's pointed out in this document, that we can only put 4 units on there. So, if you figure there's 4 people per unit, you come up with 16 people. Now, if we have 80-some people living in the motels, you're not even going to clear out one of them, let alone any of them, for starters. And I don't think that the taxpayers of this town would be happy about taking a bath for $380,000 for a piece of property that we donate to someone, like the housing authority or whoever. So all of a sudden, that money just vaporizes because, we gave it over to the housing authority. The only alternative to that, to me, would be is that if you built 4 units on there, is for the city to sell that property and make a profit. I mean, why would the taxpayers have to come up with $380,000 and take a bath on that piece of property? The other one, I agree with Art. If we develop Avenue flags, and we have some big event there, you can fill that avenue up real quick with cars. And if we're going to get some kind of a return from that, I think that the parking lot would be more beneficial to us, because it would actually make a profit. I mean, it's obviously not going to make all the profit in 2 years or 5 years or whatever. But in the interim, you make a parking lot, you charge people to park in that parking lot, and then it's just asphalt. So if down the road we develop that piece of property, all you're pulling up is asphalt and not tearing down buildings. Because you put a building up, it's there for 50 years. Now you're stuck. And I don't think that, me personally, I would be happy with us just giving that property away to someone.
Okay.
So, appears consensus.
Let's do. Consensus.
I will do some case studies with Cosmont, and Rose and I will work on cost estimates for development, because we'll also have some landscaping and things like that.
We've got to make it a really nice looking parking lot.
Yeah.
You're in a residential area. You've got.
And we need to buffer. There's an entrance to the one apartment right facing it. So we'll do some initial research, and then we'll bring it back to council with some numbers, so you can actually see some more numbers fleshed out from this.
Super.
Fair enough.
And when you're doing that, Mark, if you would, take into consideration that a lot of us here in the valley have 20-foot long trucks like me.
We don't like to do compact spaces, so we will make sure they're the full-size spaces.
Motorcycle.
Alrighty, on with city manager's report, please.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, the Gavin's other project, the Buellton Hub, is going before the Planning Commission next Thursday. That project has a tentative track map associated with it, so the City Council will be the final approval body of that, and if the Planning Commission recommends approval, it will be before you probably the second meeting in February. The senior apartments are still out there. They still can't get funding. They still have some home funds from the county, but those are going to go away if they don't use them, so you can't just hold on to them forever. So
could they turn that into low income?
Well, it is low income senior.
Senior, but
they
just
would have
low
to,
income.
They would have to come back to the Planning Commission to modify it. But it has to be low income. It doesn't have to be senior. So we could come back and do a modification if they need to. And you've already mentioned Caltrans and the audible signals, so we're working on that. Now, we did redesign our website. So the mobile app that you currently have on your device won't work with that. So you have to delete it, go back to the website on your mobile device and set it back onto your device, and it works fine, and it's really good. So just wanted to alert you to that. We're going to be putting some of this informational finance data on our website now with a separate tab. So some of these reports that aren't really action reports on your agenda will now be on the website, and each month will be there, so you don't have to go looking for the different months, so you can compare back and forth. So we're going to try that out. The main ones that we require action, such as the quarterly reports and the mid-year budgets, those all still will be on the agenda, but the informational reports will be easily accessible on the website. Linda has set up a donation box at City Hall for donations for the mud flows in Montecito. New clothes and blankets is what we're accepting. Used clothes are not what Red Cross can use, and if you want a monetary donation, you should go through the Red Cross site. But we have a box there, and if we get stuff, we'll make sure it gets down to the Red Cross.
Now, are we taking it down, or are they going to come up and get it?
We'll take it down.
We'll take it down.
City will take it down?
Yeah, so if we get any, we'll make arrangements to get it down there. Okay. Rose has asked me that if you sign your stormwater materials that you were given at the last meeting and return it to Rose. We need that for documentation that the City Council has reviewed it and acknowledged receipt.
Okay.
So that's something we need. And City Hall is closed Monday for Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Had you asked us before to sign off on it? I missed that. Had you told us before to sign off on the?
Yes, when we distributed it last meeting, please review it. And there's a page, and the last page has a signature form for you to sign and return.
And the Red Cross donations is also on our scroll part of our website, so the public can see that they can do there, or they can come to City Hall.
Thank you. Our Buellton Senior Thrift Shop is trying to collect too, so I'll let them know. Thank you.
Yeah, just make sure they know that
it's
it
new
can't
clothing.
be. Yeah, can't be somebody's closet. Just donation. It has to be new stuff.
Blankets.
So is it the 18th then, the meeting for Planning Commission?
Yes, next Thursday, the 18th.
Okay, that's where it'll be public.
Alrighty. Nothing else? Alrighty, I hereby adjourn this meeting. I'll see you all back here next Thursday the 25th at 6 o'clock.
Thank you.